1 Kings, chapters 19 through 22, reveals God's faithfulness to his servants and the consequences of forsaking his ways. In chapter 19, God comforts a discouraged Elijah and reassures him of his purpose. Chapter 20 demonstrates God's power to deliver Israel from their enemies when they trust in him. Chapter 21 recounts Naboth's vineyard and the judgment on Ahab and Jezebel for their wickedness. Finally, chapter 22 warns of the dangers of false prophets and the importance of seeking truth. These chapters hold a powerful message for you. When you feel discouraged or face opposition because of your faith, remember that God is always with you. He will provide strength, comfort, and guidance as you seek to follow him. Are you trusting in God's power and seeking his truth, or are you being swayed by the world's false messages? Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, give us discerning hearts to recognize your truth and the courage to stand firm in our faith. When we face trials, remind us of your unfailing love and presence. Now, gracious God, thank you for guiding us through this day. As night falls, grant us peace and rest. Guide us in truth, protect us, and renew our spirits for tomorrow. May we serve you and reflect your love. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Chapter 19. Elijah flees from Jezebel. Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, "So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I don't make your life like the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time." When he saw that, he arose, ran for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree. He requested for himself that he might die, and said, "It is enough. Now, O Yahweh, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers." He lay down and slept under a juniper tree. Behold, an angel touched him and said to him, "Arise and eat." He looked, and behold, there was at his head a cake baked on the coals and a jar of water. He ate and drank and lay down again. The angel of Yahweh came again the second time, touched him, and said, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you." He arose, ate, and drank, and went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mountain of God. He came there to a cave and lodged there, and behold, the word of Yahweh came to him, and he said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He said, "I have been very jealous of Yahweh, the God of armies. For the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away." He said, "Go out and stand on the mountain before Yahweh." Behold, Yahweh passed by, and a great and strong wind tore the mountains and broke in pieces the rocks before Yahweh. But Yahweh was not in the wind. After the wind, an earthquake. But Yahweh was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake, a fire. But Yahweh was not in the fire. After the fire, a still small voice. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle, went out, and stood in the cave entrance. Behold, a voice came to him and said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He said, "I have been very jealous of Yahweh, the God of armies, because the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away." Yahweh told him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. Anoint Jehu, the son of Nimshi, to be king over Israel, and anoint Elisha, the son of Shaphat of Abel-Meholah, to be prophet in your place. It shall happen that he who escapes from the sword of Hazael, Jehu shall kill, and he who escapes from the sword of Jehu, Elisha shall kill. Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth which has not kissed him. So he departed from there, and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12th. Elijah passed over to him, and cast his mantle on him. He left the oxen, ran after Elijah, and said, "Please let me kiss my father and mother, and then I will follow you." He said to him, "Go back again, for what have I done to you?" He returned from following him, took the yoke of oxen, slew them, boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen, gave to the people, and ate. Then he arose and went after Elijah and served him. 1 Kings chapter 20. Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, gathered all his army together, and there were 32 kings with him, as well as horses and chariots. He went up and besieged Samaria and fought against it. He sent messengers to Ahab, king of Israel, into the city, and said to him, "Thus says Ben-Hadad, your silver and your gold is mine. Your wives also, and your children, even the best, are mine." The king of Israel answered, "It is according to your saying, my lord, O king. I am yours, and all that I have." The messengers came again and said, "Thus speaks Ben-Hadad, saying, I sent indeed to you, saying, You shall deliver me your silver, and your gold, and your wives, and your children. But I will send my servants to you tomorrow about this time, and they shall search your house, and the houses of your servants. Whatever is pleasant in your eyes, they shall put it in their hand, and take it away." Then the king of Israel called all the elders of the land and said, "Please notice how this man seeks trouble, for he sent to me for my wives and my children and my silver and my gold, and I didn't deny him." All the elders and all the people said to him, "Don't listen nor consent." Therefore he said to the messengers of Ben-Hadad, "Tell my lord the king, all that you sent for to your servant at the first I will do, but this thing I cannot do." The messengers departed and brought him word again. Ben-Hadad sent to him and said, "The gods do so to me, and more also, if the dust of Samaria shall suffice for handfuls for all the people who follow me." The king of Israel answered, "Tell him, don't let him who puts on his armor boast like he who takes it off." When Ben-Hadad heard this message as he was drinking, he and the kings were in the pavilions, and he said to his servants, "Set yourselves in array." They set themselves in array against the city. Behold, a prophet came near Ahab, king of Israel, and said, "Thus says Yahweh, have you seen all this great multitude? Behold, I will deliver it into your hand today, and you shall know that I am Yahweh." Ahab said, "By whom?" He said, "Thus says Yahweh, by the young men of the princes of the provinces." Then he said, "Who shall begin the battle?" He answered, "You." Then he mustered the young men of the princes of the provinces, and they were 232. After them he mustered all the people, even all the children of Israel, being 7,000. They went out at noon, but Ben-Hadad was drinking himself drunk in the pavilions, he and the 32 kings who helped him. The young men of the princes of the provinces went out first, and Ben-Hadad sent out scouts, and they told him, saying, "Men are coming out from Samaria." Then he said, "If they have come out for peace, take them alive, or if they have come out for war, take them alive." So these went out of the city, the young men of the princes of the provinces, and the army which followed them. They killed everyone his man. The Syrians fled, and Israel pursued them. Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, escaped on a horse with horsemen. The king of Israel went out and struck the horses and chariots, and killed the Syrians with a great slaughter. The prophet came near the king of Israel and said, "Go, strengthen yourself, and mark, and see what you do. For at the return of the year, the king of Syria will come up against you." The servants of the king of Syria said to him, "Their gods are gods of the hills. Therefore they were stronger than we. But let us fight against them in the plain, and surely we shall be stronger than they. Do this thing. Take the kings away, every man out of his place, and put captains in their room. Muster an army like the army you have lost, horse for horse, and chariot for chariot. We will fight against them in the plain, and surely we will be stronger than they." He listened to their voice and did so. At the return of the year, Ben-Hadad mustered the Syrians and went up to Aphek to fight against Israel. The children of Israel were mustered, provisioned, and went against them. The children of Israel encamped before them like 2 little flocks of goats, but the Syrians filled the country. A man of God came near and spoke to the king of Israel and said, "Thus says Yahweh, because the Syrians have said, 'Yahweh is a God of the hills, but he is not a God of the valleys.' Therefore I will deliver all this great multitude into your hand, and you shall know that I am Yahweh." They encamped one over against the other 7 days. So it was that in the 7th day the battle was joined. And the children of Israel killed of the Syrians 100,000 footmen in 1 day. But the rest fled to Aphek into the city, and the wall fell on 27,000 men who were left. Ben-Hadad fled and came into the city into an inner chamber. His servants said to him, "See now, we have heard that the kings of the house of Israel are merciful kings. Please let us put sackcloth on our loins and ropes on our heads, and go out to the king of Israel. Perhaps he will save your life." So they girded sackcloth on their loins and put ropes on their heads, and came to the king of Israel and said, "Your servant Ben-Hadad says, 'Please let me live.'" He said, "Is he still alive? He is my brother." Now the men observed diligently and hurried to catch whether it were his words, and they said, "Your brother Ben-Hadad." Then he said, "Go, bring him." Then Ben-Hadad came out to him, and he caused him to come up into the chariot. Ben-Hadad said to him, "The cities which my father took from your father, I will restore. You shall make streets for yourself in Damascus, as my father made in Samaria." Then Ahab said, "I will send you away with this covenant." So he made a covenant with him and sent him away. A confident man of the sons of the prophets said to his neighbor in the word of Yahweh, "Strike me, please." The man refused to strike him. Then he said to him, "Because you have not obeyed the voice of Yahweh, behold, as soon as you have departed from me, a lion shall kill you." As he went away, a lion found him and killed him. Then he found another man and said, "Strike me, please." The man struck him so that in striking, he wounded him. The prophet departed, waited for the king, and disguised himself with a bandage over his eyes. As the king passed by, he cried to the king and said, "Your servant went out into the midst of the battle. Behold, a man turned aside, brought a man to me, and said, 'Guard this man. If by any means he is missing, then shall your life be for his life, or else you shall pay a talent of silver.' As your servant was busy here and there, he was gone." The king of Israel said to him, "So shall your judgment be. You yourself have decided it." He hurried and took the bandage away from his eyes, and the king of Israel recognized him that he was of the prophets. He said to him, "Thus says Yahweh, because you have let go out of your hand the man whom I had devoted to destruction, therefore your life shall go for his life, and your people for his people." The king of Israel went to his house sullen and displeased, and came to Samaria. 1 Kings, chapter 21. Naboth's vineyard. After these things, Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard in Jezreel, next to the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. Ahab spoke to Naboth, saying, "Give me your vineyard, that I may have it for a vegetable garden, because it is near my house, and I will give you a better vineyard for it. If it seems good to you, I will give you its worth in money." But Naboth said to Ahab, "May Yahweh forbid me that I should give the inheritance of my fathers to you." Ahab came into his house, sullen and displeased, because of the word that Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him, for he had said, "I will not give you the inheritance of my fathers." He lay down on his bed, turned away his face, and would eat no bread. But Jezebel, his wife, came to him and said, "Why is your spirit so sullen that you eat no bread?" He said to her, "Because I spoke to Naboth the Jezreelite, and said to him, 'Give me your vineyard for money, or else, if it pleases you, I will give you another vineyard for it.' He answered, 'I will not give you my vineyard.' Jezebel, his wife, said to him, 'Do you now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise, and eat bread, and let your heart be merry. I will give you the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite.' So she wrote letters in Ahab's name, sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters to the elders and to the nobles who were in his city, dwelling with Naboth. She wrote in the letters, saying, 'Proclaim a fast and set Naboth high among the people. Set 2 men, sons of Belial, before him to bear witness against him, saying, "You cursed God and the king. Then carry him out and stone him to death." The men of his city, the elders, and the nobles who lived in his city, did as Jezebel had sent to them, as was written in the letters she had sent to them. They proclaimed a fast and set Naboth on high among the people. The 2 men, sons of Belial, came in and sat before him. The men of Belial witnessed against him, even against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, "Naboth cursed God and the king." Then they carried him out of the city and stoned him to death with stones. Then they sent to Jezebel, saying, "Naboth has been stoned and is dead." It happened when Jezebel heard that Naboth was stoned and was dead, that Jezebel said to Ahab, "Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, which he refused to give you for money, for Naboth is not alive, but dead." It happened when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, and that Ahab rose up to go down to the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite to take possession of it. The word of Yahweh came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, "Arise, go down to meet Ahab, king of Israel, who dwells in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, where he has gone down to take possession of it. You shall speak to him, saying, 'Thus says Yahweh, have you killed and also taken possession?' You shall speak to him, saying, 'Thus says Yahweh, in the place where dogs lick the blood of Naboth, dogs will lick your blood, even yours.'" Ahab said to Elijah, "Have you found me, my enemy?" He answered, "I have found you because you have sold yourself to do that which is evil in the sight of Yahweh. Behold, I will bring evil on you, and will utterly sweep you away, and will cut off from Ahab every male, both bond and free in Israel. I will make your house like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, the son of Ahijah, for the provocation with which you have provoked me to anger, and made Israel to sin. Yahweh also spoke of Jezebel, saying, The dogs shall eat Jezebel by the rampart of Jezreel. He who dies of Ahab in the city, the dogs shall eat, and he who dies in the field, the birds of the sky shall eat. But there was none like. Ahab sold himself to do what was evil in the sight of Yahweh, whom Jezebel, his wife, stirred up. He did very abominably in following idols, according to all that the Amorites did, whom Yahweh cast out before the children of Israel. When Ahab heard those words, he tore his clothes and put sackcloth on his flesh, fasted, lay in sackcloth, and went softly. The word of Yahweh came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, Do you see how Ahab humbles himself before me? Because he humbles himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his days, but in his son's days will I bring the evil upon his house. Chapter 22. Micaiah prophecies against Ahab. They continued 3 years without war between Syria and Israel. In the 3rd year, Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, came down to the king of Israel. The king of Israel said to his servants, Don't you know that Ramoth-Gilead belongs to us, and we do nothing to take it out of the hand of the king of Syria? He asked Jehoshaphat, Will you go with me to battle with Ramoth-Gilead? Jehoshaphat told the king of Israel, I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. Jehoshaphat told the king of Israel, Please inquire first for Yahweh's word. Then the king of Israel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said to them, Shall I go against Ramoth-Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? They said, Go up, for the Lord will deliver it into the hand of the king. But Jehoshaphat said, Isn't there a prophet of Yahweh besides, that we may inquire of him? The king of Israel told Jehoshaphat, There is yet one man by whom we may inquire of Yahweh, Micaiah the son of Imlah. But I hate him, for he does not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. Jehoshaphat said, Don't let the king say so. Then the king of Israel called an officer and said, Get Micaiah, the son of Imlah, quickly. The king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, each sat on his throne, arrayed in their robes, in an open place at the entrance of the gate of Samaria, and all the prophets prophesied before them. Zedekiah the son of Chenaanah made him horns of iron and said, Yahweh says, With these you shall push the Syrians until they are consumed. All the prophets prophesied so, saying, Go up to Ramoth-Gilead and prosper, for Yahweh will deliver it into the hand of the king. The messenger who went to call Micaiah spoke to him, saying, See now, the prophets declare good to the king with one mouth. Let your word, I pray you, be like the word of one of them, and speak good. Micaiah said, As Yahweh lives, what Yahweh says to me is that I will speak. When he came to the king said, Micaiah, shall we go to Ramoth-Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? He answered, Go up and prosper, and Yahweh will deliver it into the hand of the king. The king asked him, How many times shall I adjure you that you speak to me nothing but the truth in the name of Yahweh? He said, I saw all Israel scattered on the mountains, as sheep with no shepherd. Yahweh said, These have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, Didn't I tell you that he would not prophesy good concerning me, but evil?" Micaiah said, "Therefore hear the word of Yahweh. I saw Yahweh sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. Yahweh said, Who will entice Ahab, that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead?" One said one thing, and another said another. A spirit came out and stood before Yahweh and said, "I will entice him." Yahweh said to him, "How?" He said, "I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets." He said, "You will entice him and also prevail. Go out and do so. Now therefore, behold, Yahweh has put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these your prophets, and Yahweh has spoken evil concerning you." Then Zedekiah, the son of Chenaanah, came near, struck Micaiah on the cheek, and said, "Which way did the Spirit of Yahweh go from me to speak to you?" Micaiah said, "Behold, you will see on that day when you go into an inner room to hide yourself." The king of Israel said, "Take Micaiah and carry him back to Ammon, the city governor, and to Joash, the king's son. Say, Thus says the king, Put this fellow in prison, and feed him with the bread of affliction and with water of affliction, until I come in peace." Micaiah said, "If you return at all in peace, Yahweh has not spoken by me." He said, "Listen, all you people." So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, went up to Ramoth Gilead. The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, "I will disguise myself and go into the battle, but you put on your robes." The king of Israel disguised himself and went into the battle. The king of Syria had commanded the 32 captains of his chariots, saying, "Fight neither with small nor great, but only with the king of Israel." When the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, they said, "Surely it is the king of Israel." And they turned aside to fight against him. Jehoshaphat cried out. It happened when the captains of the chariots saw that it was not the king of Israel, and they turned back from pursuing him. A confident man drew his bow randomly and struck the king of Israel between the armor joints. Therefore, he told the driver of his chariot, "Turn your hand and carry me out of the battle, for I am severely wounded." The battle increased that day. The king was propped up in his chariot facing the Syrians and died in the evening. The blood ran out of the wound into the midst of the chariot. A cry went throughout the army about the going down of the sun, saying, "Every man to his city, and every man to his country." So the king died and was brought to Samaria. They buried the king in Samaria. They washed the chariot by the pool of Samaria, and the dogs licked up his blood. Now the prostitutes wash themselves there. According to the word of Yahweh which he spoke. Now, are not the rest of Ahab's acts, all that he did, the ivory house that he built, and all the cities that he built, written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So Ahab slept with his fathers, and Ahaziah, his son, reigned in his place. Jehoshaphat the son of Asa began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Ahab, king of Israel. Jehoshaphat was 35 years old when he began to reign and reigned for 25 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shilhi. He walked in all the ways of Asa, his father. He didn't turn aside from it, doing what was right in the eyes of Yahweh. However, the high places were not taken away. The people still sacrificed and burnt incense in the high places. Jehoshaphat also made peace with the king of Israel. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat, and the might he showed, and how he warred, are not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah. The remnant of the Sodomites, which remained in the days of his father Asa, he took out of the land. There was no king in Edom. A deputy was king. Jehoshaphat made ships of Tarshish to go to Ophir for gold, but they didn't go, for the ships were broken at Ezion-Geber. Then Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, said to Jehoshaphat, "Let my servants go with your servants in the ships." But Jehoshaphat would not. Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David his father. Jehoram, his son, reigned in his place. Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria in the 17th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned for 2 years over Israel. He did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh, and walked in the way of his father, and in the way of his mother, and Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel sin. He served Baal, worshipped him, and provoked to anger Yahweh, the God of Israel, according to all his father had done.